Nigeria is one of the largest oil producers in the world, and many are even on the verge of starvation. Unlike those at the top, many of whom are accused of stealing billions of dollars with impunity.
South Africa's economy has been ranked as one of the world's most miserable, with soaring public debt and a quarter of the workforce unemployed.
It's estimated that deserts in parts of the continent are expanding at a rate of 5 kilometers per year. Africa is facing a crisis that will affect both its food supply and its population.
In Africa, we're hearing of another possible kidnapping by the group Boko Haram.
Zimbabwe is facing its worst financial crisis in 7 years, and that is saying something given how many financial crises it has been.
Now more than ever, there is a need to come up with homegrown solutions to problems that plague Africa. This is the reason for establishing the Gusau Institute, an institute focused on tackling the leadership and security problems that affect Africa and the world. The Gusau Institute is the brainchild of retired Lieutenant General Aliyu Gusau Mohammed, who enjoyed a long and distinguished military career and served as Nigeria's national security advisor under 3 successive governments, including that of Ibrahim Babangida, Olusegun Obasanjo, and Goodluck Ebele Jonathan.
During the period of my service, I realized that a number of my friends and I have vast experiences in the networks that could be used to promote peace, security and development, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa and the rest of the world. We decided that I should set up an organization that harnesses these resources in a structured, institutionalized way that will benefit everyone, the current as well as the future generations.
His experience informs his huge interest in governance and security issues, which forms the core focus of the Gusau Institute.
The Gusau Institute would like to assess how global politics have an effect on the African continent, and then any issues, problems deriving from global impacts on the continent, to have a roadmap that's essentially African in its response to human security issues and crises. So it's not that it's only looking at problems affecting Africa. A problem like climate change or, something, water shortages is global. But how is it impacting on Africa specifically, and how is Africa going to react to the problems that is created?
The Gusau Institute is designed to contribute qualitative input into conflict and security management, as well as good governance in Nigeria, Africa, and globally. Our mission, therefore, is to be a provider of research, training, and programs for the enhancement of peace, security, and development locally and internationally.
The Gusau Institute started out with a library. That was our main priority at the time.
This is Aliyu Mohammed Research Library. In the main library, we have 22,000 volumes of books from various subjects, starting from computer science down to history, because we use Dewey Decimal Classification Scheme to arrange all our books so that it can be accessed easily by our users. We have other sections with the newspapers, the magazines, and some other e-books. So this is like our e-section where we keep our e-greenery. It has about 25 million volumes of resources. So people can come in here with their tablet, laptop, and iPad, and they can connect to it without actually connected to the internet. This is the archive floor, where all our historical and old newspapers are kept here. So we have quite a lot of number of magazines, journals, alt journals, and newspapers that are stored here. We have the project of digitizing all our newspapers so that they can be accessed electronically. The oldest publication we have here is 32 years old.
The Gusau Institute has brokered significant partnership within and outside Africa in the bid to reach its goals.
I think the Gusau Institute is doing a remarkable job in terms of promoting research and capacity building. I also think the Gusau Institute is a game changer in enhancing peace, security, and development in the region. So for that reason, the Center for Nigeria Studies at the Institute of African Studies, Zhejiang University, situated in China, is proud to partner with the Gusau Institute. Our partnership focuses on conference co-hosting, research, and student exchange.
And I'm pleased to say that the International Strategic Studies Association has been associated with the Gusau Institute since the idea for the Institute was formulated and since the foundation of the Institute in Kaduna, Nigeria. And what the Gusau Institute relationship means to us is that we have expanded our thinking in many ways to give a greater concern to the future of Africa and the future of Africa's role within the global community. We obviously have great hope for the future of the Gusau Institute. We will enhance and deepen our relationship with the Gusau Institute whenever and however we can, and we wish it incredible good fortune in the years going forward, because this is a treasure for Africa and for the global international strategic studies community.
The Gusau Institute strives to become an incubator for unique Afrocentric perspectives through its vast pool of resources and programs.
Our activities at the moment focus on hosting seminars, workshops, conferences. Some of the conferences that we have hosted to date include one about the so-called Big Five states in Africa, and it's Algeria, Ethiopia, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt. Our keynote speaker came from South Africa, from the Institute of Security Studies, Dr. Yaki Silier, and they are also one of our counterparts or partners on the continent.
I made the argument that Africa probably will remain at the margins of global power. Africa is rising, but not for all. We have a long road ahead.
Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, Egypt, and Algeria, the Big Five, have some of the largest power potential in Africa. But Nigeria is the only country that could become a globally significant player. The Big Five will inevitably shape the future of the continent. Collectively, they will continue to account for 60% of the African economy, 40% of Africa's population, and 58% of its military expenditure.
We are also launching within the near future what we would call a roundtable discussion sessions in Abuja. We would like to have the diplomatic community, people from federal government, the private sector, NGOs, all involved in discussions and not listening to speeches, but really talking to each other, networking, collaborating on how are we going to address a very specific problem. That's why we also want to have only 20 people at a time around the table, because these big conferences you tend to have 200 or 300 people attending, but they are there because their boss told them to be there, or it's an interesting subject or whatever, but there's not really any follow-up after this. But the roundtable discussions, we want to have a networking opportunity for decision makers, for people that can go back and do something with what has been discussed and the decisions that have been taken. We would love to have a second program, a resident fellows program, we call it, where we would like to invite experts on a certain topic to come and spend some time in Kaduna. It is quiet. We have a research library here. We want to present a problem, if we can continue with the climate change issue, because we've started with that, or something like food security, for instance. We get the best person in the world about agricultural practices in West Africa. We get the best expert in the world about health issues, eating habits of people. We get an anthropologist knowing about what is acceptable culturally to people to do or not. And we ask them, come up with a plan about how we can address this problem. And once it has been written, we present it to the entity that can do something with it. So that's the dream. We're not there yet, but that's our next step.